Have other companies gotten wise to MicroStrategy's infinite money glitch? And will we see a cascade of copycats in that space? Let's find out. Let's quickly recap what the infinite money glitch for MicroStrategy is. If you've been following me for a while, you already know it, but let's just go over it one more time for anybody else that is new here. So the infinite money glitch, basically, Michael Saylor takes on debt in the form of borrowing notes at a rate of under 1% to potential investors for the opportunity to invest in MicroStrategy. And he takes that increase in cash on his balance sheet and he turns around and turns it into Bitcoin. And then the stock goes up of MicroStrategy. More people want to get a hold of those notes he is selling. He sells more of them, collects more money, buys more Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up. The value of his company goes up, rinse and repeat until infinity, or at least that's how it sounds like it should be working. So let's take a look at what MicroStrategy does beyond that real quick. So this is their About Them page. It's very, very brief. It just says, we provide powerful software solutions and expert services that empower every individual with actionable intelligence. Sounds very similar to basically any software company out there that provides any sort of business solution to anyone. So it's pretty generic. As I see why they weren't, front and center before this whole Bitcoin thing. Let's take a look here. Here's a Forbes article. This came out in February about MicroStrategy, saying that their software business finally turns a profit as Bitcoin Stash appreciates. So honestly, they weren't even profitable until they got into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went way, way up for them. So that was interesting. A little tidbit to know as well, which means that MicroStrategy's success is tightly tied to Bitcoin. When the crypto winter returns, and it will return, it always does, MicroStrategy is going to have a bad time. So I would keep an eye on Bitcoin. Watch out for those tops. And when you think it is in, of course, this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. When you think the top of Bitcoin is in, that is time to make some tough choices regarding your holdings and what you choose to do with them. So let's take a look here real quick. All right. So they've been seeing steady progress, according to Forbes, in their business analytics division. Business analytics sounds a lot like what Palantir does, and Palantir has been getting a lot of interest of late in their offerings. In fact, they are a significantly bigger company than MicroStrategy without the Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Just saying, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset, not financial advice. Um, so they want to, yeah, they want to get their customers to become recurring, subscription-based customers, software as a service. Everybody's doing that, including like Adobe, which upsets me as a designer. I remember the days when you just bought the software, not having to pay them every single month for the privilege. Whatever. We're moving on. So their Q4 revenue expected to fall 3% from their software side of the business, which I'd have to look and see if it actually did. The last time they had a profit was the final quarter of 2020. How did they do last time? So let's actually take a look at MicroStrategy's earnings for Q4. They were actually positive, okay. Well, they were positive, but they did miss on revenue. So it actually fell 6% on revenue. So that's not great. But they did have a positive earnings per share, a surprise of 875%, probably likely taking advantage of being able to use the appreciation of Bitcoin on their balance sheet to pump that up, much like the Bitcoin miners were doing. But unlike the Bitcoin miners, they weren't punished for it. They actually got a ton of benefit from that being on their balance sheet. So that's something to keep in mind in relation to how MicroStrategy acts as a proxy for Bitcoin and a leveraged play on it overall. They're starting to show up with some copycats. And we go in here in Google right here, we can take a look at what's going on here. You can see that South American gold miner Nilam Resources, it's a very small company, you probably haven't heard of it. I hadn't heard of it till this, but Nilam Resources enters agreement to acquire 24,800 Bitcoin. This news came out 2 days ago as of NASDAQ. So this was on NASDAQ itself, saying that this company, Nilam Resources, they are going to buy 24,800 Bitcoin. And how are they going to do it? They're using the Michael Saylor strategy. They are going to take out very cheap debt, use that debt to buy Bitcoin. That will probably send their stock price through the roof, which will enable them to take more debt to buy more Bitcoin to increase the value of their stock further and rinse and repeat until infinity. So let's take a look at how that worked out for them. I have their chart right up here. It worked out really well. So Monday, March 25th, they were trading for less than 2 cents. They went as high as 28 cents, which equates to a 1,717% increase. Okay, this is a 17x of your money if you invested just on Monday of this week since they announced this. And remember, that was just a couple of days ago. So 2 days ago, which today's Wednesday, that would have been Monday. So Monday, which was this day here where they were worth 1.6 cents. And then on Tuesday, they went up all the way up to 30 cents, which represented a 1,717% increase in the value of their stock. And today we're seeing massive profit taking, where they have dropped dramatically down 93% just today. They're back down to that same value they were on Monday. So it was a pump and dump. People are taking that profit and taking it off the table from this micro cap stock. But you can see that at least in the short term, and we'll see how it plays out going into the coming days, weeks, and months for this stock. In fact, I'm going to add this to my watch list to see exactly how this copycat strategy works out for them and see if they can manage to make this something profitable for themselves, turn it into that same infinite money glitch. But it did work for 2 days. They went up 17x. Now I've got the chart up here. So we saw on Monday, it went up that 1,717%. On Tuesday, we opened up that high and came down by midday. Well, by near the end of the day, we came down to 19 cents from that 37 cents. I got the better chart out here. Let's see how far did it drop that day on Tuesday. On Tuesday, it dropped down 51.5% nearly. And then from that base, same day on Tuesday, it went from that minus 51% back up another 88% by the end of the day, where then we sold off a little bit at the very end of the day, but it went up another 88%. So even if you just got in on that dip, you went up another 88% before the end of the day, just off of the Bitcoin news. That's all it was. And then today, of course, in the aftermarket and pre-market, it sold off dramatically. Let's take a look at what that looked like. Yeah, just one pre-market sale all the way down at 11 cents. And then today it just absolutely collapsed. So it was a complete pump and dump, but we'll see how this goes going forward. I'm actually going to add this to my watch list. Yeah, not there. I'm actually going to add this to my watch list and see how this performs given that announcement and see if that incentive for other companies to do that copycat of the Michael Saylor strategy is really something viable that other companies might actually do, and then I'll be on the lookout for that. All right, so we've covered that. Now let's take a look at the Bitcoin miners today, at least our favorites here on TradeCave. So CleanSpark is down that 1.66% today. That's, again, like I was expecting when we saw that plus 19% day. I did say on that day that we'll likely in the next couple of days, maybe through the end of the week, see a pullback around in the range of, 2 to 5%, maybe a little bit more. So that is to be expected. This is normal price action. We need to see this RSI normalize, come back down into like the 50s and 60s before moving back up again. This is still bullish. This looks right now, as it stands, this looks a lot like a bull flag, and we could easily get back above that $24 and send ourselves higher. Take a look at Mara. How is Mara doing? It sold off a lot harder since it reached that peak on the 20th of March. Let's see here. And we had like an up day on this Monday too a little bit, but then it came down again and went plus 0.38%, but it had a nice long wick on top, which really indicated that we were going to come back down again. We came back down to that $20 level, the level I keep talking about, $20. Mara, $20 is going to be a lot like 15 was for CleanSpark on the Mara chart. That $20 is going to be that absolute pivot point that we need to stay above in order to keep Marathon Digital bullish going forward. If we break that $20 and come lower like we did last time, we came all the way down to 1750. That's what we're looking at if we get below that. But I do think this formation that we're forming right now is very similar to what happened in January and early February, and we're at the tail end of this like kind of bearish looking move that we're in right now. And really all we need to do is break above the channel, or the trend line, like this trend line right here, this red one. Let's actually make it green. Really all we need to do is break above this around $22, get up to this volume at 23, where we'll encounter some resistance. We might go sideways for a little while as we grind up to 26. And once we cross that $26 level, sky's the limit. We're probably going to go after that $34 high once more on Mara. Let's take a look at Riot. How is Riot doing? Riot yesterday got me super excited. And today kind of took away all that excitement. Riot, I think, is going to be a much slower grind to the promised land on Riot. They just don't get the momentum of their peers, even though we got a few closes in this volume pocket. The momentum just is not picking this thing up. I'm actually down on my call options now for Riot, which is kind of annoying. So I'm up on everything else except Riot. Riot, come on, get it together, get moving up, get above that $12.55 range, and just go through that empty volume pocket. I'm getting frustrated with this one a little bit. Now, it is creating the exact same formation like the other ones are, right? It came down aggressively, did a hook, which we can say looks a lot like a cup, created a handle, and launched. We are currently in the handle phase of this little cup and handle that we're making over here that started back here on March 8th. We came up to the brim, or we created what would be close to a brim around March 22nd, and we are kind of grinding down until we eventually get up and above that $12.55 range. And once that happens, 15 is going to come in pretty quick. Once we finally get out of this little range we are stuck in on Riot. So this one's going to require some patience, I think. There are some faster moving cars right now. I'm a little bit upset with it, but I am sticking to it because I do think that Riot is going up to that $15 and potentially beyond from there right now. Let's take a look at Bit Digital. I think Bit Digital was actually doing pretty good today. Yeah, well, they're up plus 2.63% today. The candle is ugly as ever. They're still in this handle form. We're still a phase. We are still stuck in this big old chunk of volume. RSI on the daily is below 50. That's not great. We did bounce off of the we bounced off of the moving average for the RSI here, which is bullish. So we'll see what happens here. We're up while a lot of others are down. We're actually up 3% now, while the peers of this miner are down. So that's actually pretty good. I'm actually happy about that. Let's take a look at Bit Farms. What's going on with Bit Farms? Bit Farms is actually down 4.59% today. We are down to that $2 level. What have I been saying for like months now, since we were like around 288 to 250, that we're going to come down to $2. It looks like we're going to do that today. In fact, we're almost there, 206 any lower, and we're coming down to $2. That's not great. I don't love that about Bitfarms. This is definitely due to that CEO news that came out earlier this week. So this will either play out, come down to $2 and start bouncing up from here. And if it doesn't, we're in some big trouble on Bit Farms if it doesn't get a bounce around that $2 level. We are getting super, super close to it right now. So we're kind of right in the edge of that. And we're going to see what is going to happen. But this downward move, at least in the last 2-3 days, has absolutely been in relation to that CEO news, which is always detrimental to a company when they have a change of leadership, especially at such a pivotal time right now with the halving coming up in less than 30 days. The CEO deciding to step down, like choosing to, is a bit ominous. I really wish they had clarified that and given us a reason why, not just saying, oh, I'm stepping down, I believe in my team. Of course he's going to say that. Tell us why, so that we don't freak out and sell all of our shares, which some people are freaking out and selling a lot of their shares. I'm not among them, but people are doing it clearly, as you can see, us being down 5% today, while other miners are not in that same boat. One last thing today, it's the Cipher warrants. I forgot to cover this for a while. So if you follow me, you know that I got in here around that 86, 87 cents, and I averaged up to about 92 cents when we got into my channel here. I actually sold it at about $1.20. I kind of regret that today because it went right up to $1.70, which, I mean, like I said, it went right up through this volume pocket like I was expecting RIOT to do, which I'm still waiting for it to do. But it went right through my volume pocket, kind of came up to the top of that resistance and now is kind of losing some steam there. So on this one, again, I'm waiting for it to come back down under $1 again. We'll see if it does. If it doesn't, I'll just let it pass me by. If it does, I'll pick it up again in that range, you know, between like $1.90 and write it back up to $2 once again on the warrants. Like when these things move, they move fast. Um, so yeah, I wish I'd held on to that, but that's okay. It was a few $100 made in 2, 3 days on the warrants. But keep an eye out for those levels. You can see this very nice double bottom came in on CIFRW around that 83-cent range. We got up to that 118. I should have held it a little longer. Oh well, what can you do? Man, I would have made so much more money. Oh well, not a big deal. Right now, it is creating a bit of a bull flag. So we might actually see this thing, if it holds where it currently is at the 150 level, we might see this thing charge up to that 225 level again here in pretty short order. And this, I think, is front running some of the action that we're going to see on the other charts for the miners. So keep an eye on CIFRW. The warrants there, if it gets underneath that 137 level, we're likely to come back down to $1. I don't know if we'll go back under $1 or not. I really would like to see it under $1, but I would be looking around, like $1.07 to like 95 cents to probably pick this up again and ride it back up to like that 150 to 160, maybe even $2 range on Cipher W. So with that said, that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.